This is a new format that we're trying out where we take one large protein, be it chicken, beef, pork, or fish like today, and we show you how to steam, fry, and roast it. When you look at food in general, those are usually the 3 ways, plus maybe stewing, that you'll cook a main protein. And I just wanna show you recipes that are really approachable, really easy to make, really quick to make, and just bring so much flavor to that protein that you've purchased. Today we're gonna start with something that a lot of people don't necessarily have the confidence to cook, and that is a whole fish. And I'm gonna be using one of my favorite ones, which is a local sea bass here in the Philippines that we call apahap. You are going to love these recipes. This is my favorite way of cooking a whole fish, simply because it has so much flavor, but at the same time, it's so easy to make. The first thing we wanna do is make sure that you get a fish that still has its scales. And why do we want that? It's because we don't want the salt to penetrate too much. The salt will give you some saltiness to the fish, but it won't be too intense. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna stuff. So, open up your fish, stuff as much garlic as you can in there. Then we're gonna take some rosemary, some thyme. So make sure that's closed up completely. Next, set this to the side. You're gonna need quite a bit of salt. Sea salt is probably the best thing you'll need here. You don't need something too fine. You can actually use something that's like between fine and coarse. We're gonna grab some egg whites. The egg whites really just help bind the salt together and make it easier to kind of encapsulate the fish. We're not looking to beat this into like stiff peaks or anything. We're just combining the 3 eggs. And then we're gonna start adding our salt. See, now I'm pretty happy with this. If you take a look at this, it's nice and coarse, but if I do this, it kind of holds nicely together. So we wanna make sure we have enough to cover the whole fish. So next step, really simple. Grab our tray one more time, and then we're gonna grab an extra tray. And the first thing we wanna do is make a bed of salt. So you want this to be more or less the same size as your fish. That should be enough. We're gonna try to shape this and for it to kind of stick together as much as possible. Grab some thyme, some rosemary, you want to keep the top as clean as possible. And this is where we can start packing the salt onto our fish. So you're making sure that even the sides are completely covered. Once that's done, once it feels compact, kind of like a sandcastle, then you're pretty much good to go. That goes into the oven for 40 minutes at 400 Fahrenheit. So it's been about 45 minutes and our fish looks delicious and like it's good to go. If you listen to this, the egg white basically kind of like solidified. So very lightly with your spoon, just hit it. Nice and hard. So this would be extremely salty if it touches your fish. So now I want to just very carefully try to clear as much of the salt as I can without ever breaking the skin, right? Because that's where you don't want this salt here, super dry, to come in contact with the flesh. You can wipe off your spoons from extra salt, and it should be really easy to take out. So you can see how absolutely moist and juicy this fish looks. Once you've got that exposed, don't try to turn it around or anything. We're gonna have to do everything with this fish in exactly this position. So I'm gonna take out a little piece just so you can see how juicy it is. Perfectly cooked. Just Look how juicy that fish is. It's insane. A little bit of extra virgin olive oil onto the fish, some cracked black pepper, and that is all you need. So good. This second whole fish recipe, I'm 100% sure you've probably seen it 1,000 times, especially if you like going to Chinese restaurants. You've probably seen those like massive whole steamed fish, and it's something that here in the Philippines we do see quite often, even in Filipino restaurants, where you have kind of like a beautiful lapu-lapu most of the time that's steamed whole. You have some very basic aromatics there, some ginger and stuff like that, and then right at the end you have kind of like this oil-based mixture that's added to it, some scallions, some soy sauce, sometimes some rice wine. So today I'm going to show you my version of how you do this, and it's actually really, really easy. So first thing we're going to do is just slice up some ginger. Now this is going to go into the cavity of the apahap, so you don't really need to kind of peel it or anything, just nice slices. And then you need some salt and some pepper. Set that to the side. Into your cavity here, we're gonna add some salt first, some freshly cracked pepper, and then your ginger slices. Next, we're gonna grab a plate. I like putting a little oil on it. Your fish goes onto that plate, and that is pretty much good to go. Next step is we're gonna get a steamer. It basically has to fit the fish. That's the most important thing. There's some water in there as well. Usually for 1 pound of fish, or about 500 grams, it'll take about 8 minutes, more or less. I'm gonna cut off the tail a little bit so that it fits and that it actually closes. So yeah, so about 500 grams will take you about 8 minutes. So this is about 1 kilogram, so it should take us about 16, 17 minutes to cook down just with the steam. Make sure to keep that close. When that fish is done, we're gonna need a little bit of oil to put on top. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna still use a little bit of the ginger, our Kaffir lime, thinly slice that. We have some coriander, break off the stalks just like that. And then final little piece, some leeks. I'm gonna use mostly the green stalks here. Split them down the middle, flatten them out just like this, cut, and then thinly slice. So these are kind of like the herbs and the greens that we're gonna put on top of the fish once it's cooked. And then we're gonna pour some really hot oil on there that's flavored with a little bit of ginger, and it's gonna be so good. Our fish is pretty much done, so we're gonna go ahead and make that oil really quickly. I'm gonna be using today just some peanut oil, ginger slices, and I just really wanna just see that oil boiling. Last little step is we want to make a really quick sauce. So I have a little bowl here, and then to that we're gonna add some soy sauce and some mirin or some rice wine. Once our fish is here, we can already start adding all our herbs that we chopped up a while ago. So you got your scallions, our Kaffir lime leaves, our coriander. You can remove the ginger. That's how hot you want it to be. I forgot to mention something really important before we started this recipe. This fish, compared to the last one, was actually scaled. So the scales here are removing, because the last thing you want is kind of like to fight with scales while you're eating a steamed fish. Beautiful. This is so good. I can't actually choose yet which one I prefer, this one or the baked one. The next one I absolutely love making is a whole fried fish. So I have a big ass pan over here with some canola oil that's getting nice and hot. We're gonna need that to be at around 350 Fahrenheit. Ideally, the whole fish is completely submerged in the oil. It's much better to do it whole, but bear with me, we don't have the gear to do it here. Take a nice big pan like this, and then to this, we're gonna be adding some flour and some cornstarch. Just mix that together. The last thing you want is when you place the fish on the oil that it just goes absolutely bonkers and all over the place. So you want to pat your fish dry before actually dredging it. So it's best to do this with something that has no scales. Fish goes onto your flour. That's going to absorb some of the moisture that's in there as well. Once our oil is really hot, one thing I forgot to do a while ago is to make incisions in the flesh of the fish. A lot of people will tell you to go all the way to the bone. I honestly don't think it's very important. I always usually go halfway. Okay, and then that, just shake off the excess and very slowly slip that into your oil. Next, the sauce. Already that fish looks absolutely delicious. You want something really sticky and sweet and sour and spicy to just go all over it. It's gonna be really good. So I have some oil that is way too hot. We're gonna let that cool down a little bit. But I chopped up some scallions, some red chilies, some lemongrass, some ginger slices, some garlic, the white part of the scallions, and I also have some parsley. The parsley we're gonna keep for later, but everything else we can already add into this really hot oil. So scallions, garlic, ginger, Kaffir lime, chilies, lemongrass. That's literally gonna cook for like 2 minutes max on the fire. Next, for our sauce, we have some light soy sauce, some dark soy sauce, some Shaoxing wine. You can use some palm sugar, some cocoa sugar. Mix all that together. A bit of rice wine vinegar, some white pepper, and then last but not least, some of our tamarind paste. And you'll see just when your garlic starts becoming brown, that's when you're good to go. You're gonna put all this sauce into the oil. And we're waiting for those sugars to just caramelize slowly. Once this gets thick, we're gonna take it off the fire. Take our fish onto our plate. A little bit of parsley, and there you have it. A perfectly fried fish that's not fish and chips, and that has so much flavor. Let's give it a try. Get some of the skin in there. This is, like, I feel like sweet and sour fish is a very Filipino thing. Like, a lot of people love eating a nice sweet and sour fish. This for me just makes it slightly more interesting because you have various Asian flavors in there like lemongrass, Kaffir lime leaves, chili. It's just a tastier experience. It really is. So I really hope you guys enjoyed those 3 recipes. They're not hard to make. They're really easy. They're all delicious. And hopefully that gives you the confidence to cook a whole fish and gets you in and out of the kitchen way faster, so that you can really just sit down and enjoy this food with your friends and your family. I'll see you guys next time.